series, and they worship the sun toward the east. And they worship the sun toward the east. And this lesson is an update to the lesson that we have on the web, on YouTube, and it's called Garden of Eden Time. And it explains why we no longer observe days from sundown to sundown like we used to when we first came into the knowledge of the truth. That is what the Bible is about and what reality is about. And so we are now looking at the fact that the sun and the hosts of heaven, the planets, stars, the moon, have been worshipped by men.
Yes, yes.
And Yahweh is showing us that us looking at the sun to determine a day having started, where the sun goes down, then it gets to be dark, as saying that a new day starts, is a spin-off of us having been part of those that were worshiping the sun. And we actually looked at some of our people, Israel, and they were worshiping the sun. You go to Yehezkel or Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, and you can see them with their backs to the temple, worshiping the sun. And Yahweh said that this is a great abomination. So that looking at the sun going down to see if it's dark, to start a new day, Yahweh is showing us in this series that He did not tell us to use the sun to determine a day. We're going to start out in Exodus, the 33rd chapter. And I was discussing this with someone, and they actually reminded me about something about the sun. And so I looked up on the web, and I see that it said about the damage to your retina or your eye that can occur. It says short-term damage or solar retinopathy occurs when a person stares directly at the sun and is a result of too much ultraviolet light flooding the retina. In extreme cases, this can cause blindness, but it's so painful that it's rare for someone to be able to stare at the sun for that long. So Yahweh made the sun to where we cannot even stare at it.
Hallelujah, praise Yahweh.
And He did not, it's a natural phenomenon, it's not anything spiritual. It's the natural creation that Yahweh made. And now we're going to look at this verse in Exodus, which causes some people to become even more confused and think that the sun is a deity or should be worshipped. But this is talking about Yahweh and Yahshua. Exodus 33, we're going to read one verse, verse 20. Exodus 33, and let's read verse 20, please.
And he said, Thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live.
All right, and so this is Yahshua talking.
Okay.
And he, Amar, thou canst not see my face, for there shall no Adam see me and Kaya. So people worshiping the sun and the host of heaven confuse this verse here, and they say the sun is the creator. But the Creator made the sun, and He tells us what He made it for. And we're going to look at the things that He says He made it for. He made it to give light to the earth during the daytime. And then, as the discussion I was having with this person, it came out, the light of the sun is so powerful that the moment humans began to look at it, they start to develop a sunburn on their eyeball. So, but this is not what this is talking about in Exodus 33rd chapter. This is talking about Yahshua, and this is talking about Yahweh Himself. But this is Yahshua talking, and He was talking to Moshe, and He was telling him, no, you can't see my face. Moshe was asking, could he see His glory? He said, no, you can't see my face and live. So he stuck him over in a rock, and he passed by, and he was able to look at His hinder part.
Right,
That doesn't
right.
mean Yahshua's face is a sun either.
Right.
Again, you have people that are so deep into sun worship, which is paganism,
Okay, y'all
that they start
right here.
assuming all these other things about the sun. The sun says that the study that I looked up about the sun says that, okay, you can start to develop a sunburn on your eyeball by looking at the sun. And it says the sun produces 3 types of light. Now this is a natural thing that we're talking about, nothing spiritual. 3 kinds of light: visible, infrared, and ultraviolet. Ultraviolet, or UV, is the most damaging to the structures within the eye, especially when it's reflected off of sand, snow, or water.
Okay.
It says the cells of the cornea, which is a transparent outer layer of the eye, will blister and crack when exposed to UV or ultraviolet light, which is like a normal sunburn. We want to go to Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, where Yahweh talks about worshiping what he created. Deuteronomy,
Okay.
the 4th chapter.
Praise the mighty Yah.
So again, Yahweh made the sun so bright, and even when
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the eclipse. And just because the moon is in front of it doesn't mean that you can stare at the sun. You still
You
can't.
cannot.
And Yahweh deliberately made it like
Yes,
that.
he did.
This is Shelomah talking, I believe, because he knew people were going to worship
And that's
the
what
sun.
I believe. Praise the mighty Yah.
He made it so they could
Yeah.
stare at it. Deuteronomy 4, we're going to read verse 19, please. Deuteronomy 4 and verse 19. reads,
Hallelujah.
And lest thou lift up thy eyes unto Shemayim, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of Shemayim, shouldest been driven to worship them and serve them, which Yahweh thy Elohim had divided unto all nations under the whole Shemayim.
Now, he's not saying he gave the sun to be divided among people to be worshipped. He's saying, unless you lift up your eyes into Shemayim, and when you see the sun and the moon and the stars, even all HaSabaoth or Shemayim, he's talking about whatever's up there in the sky, you should be driven to shaka them and ebed them, which Yahweh the Elohim had divided unto all Goi under the whole Shemayim. He's given them as a light, to be a light to the earth, not anything spiritual. He's given it as a natural phenomenon. Now there was a solar eclipse that traveled across America, and people viewed the moon blocking out the sun on August 21st, 2017. And those who watched this needed to take precautions because staring right at the sun can quickly harm the eyes. NASA explains the only safe way to look directly at the uneclipsed or partially eclipsed sun is through special purpose solar filters such as eclipse glasses. All right, now I want to read this article that I have here. 4 cultures that worship the sun, and this is found at thespiritscience.net. Thespiritscience.net. 4 cultures that worship the sun. They have at the top the ancient Egyptians. Well, our forefathers were in slavery in Mizraim or Egypt.
Right.
And I believe that's part of where they picked up that
Oh,
sun
it has to
worship.
be.
Plus, they were over there in the land of Ham.
Yeah.
A whole lot of sun worshipers over there. And Yahweh, we see he keeps saying, don't learn the way of the heathen. Don't learn the way of the heathen. Don't do this, don't do that. And we're specifically focusing on worshiping the host of heaven,
Okay.
of which they make the sun the biggest host,
Yeah.
right? The biggest deity. Ancient Egyptians. Ancient Egypt is probably the most famous sun worshiping culture. They personified it into the sun god Ra, which became the dominant god in Egyptian religion.
Right, right.
He was said to be the creator of all forms of life. All right? Again, they want to make that ball up in the sky.
Yeah.
So they said that was Ra up in the sky. Although Ra was the most popular sun god among ancient Egyptians, different cults worship variations of him. Some Egyptians worshiped Aten, a god which was depicted simply as a sun-like disk that was often shown with multiple rays coming out of it, which beamed down upon the earth. And you've seen that picture of the sun. The sun is actually a ball. But haven't you seen that sun, a ball with those things on the outside sticking out? All right. It says, regardless of which deity ancient Egyptians worship, all of them represented the sun in some way.
Right.
All right. Now, the second people are Indo-Europeans. So those are like the Indians over there in India and the Europeans.
Okay.
All right. The sun was one of the most popular deities among Indo-European peoples before monotheistic religion took them over. In Hinduism, the god Surya represented the sun and is glorified as an all-seeing God who sheds light on both good and evil actions. Sound familiar, right? So they've taken things and Yahweh put in the Bible and tried to make sense in their own mind. See, without Ruach HaKodesh, you can't make sense of what the Bible's saying. And you'll try to figure it out in your own mind, and it will never make sense. Because Yahweh has to tell you exactly what it is and how it is.
Praise to Maria.
So this Surya was said to get rid of darkness as well as evil dreams and diseases. He says there are also a variety of different sun-based heroes and kings in ancient Indian mythology.
Okay.
All right, third people they say are the Romans. Again, we're up under.
Yes, we are right now
Romans.
today.
All right. Worship of the sun became very important among Romans during the later periods of Roman history. And this is one of the later periods of Roman history. It even ended up leading to what many historians refer to as solar monotheism.
Okay.
In other words, the sun was their one God.
Okay.
Which is, in other words, almost complete worship of the sun. And this is what we have been brought into. Not only were our forefathers in ancient Egypt under sun worship, well, we're in this country. Our forefathers have been over here at least 400 years, or about 400 years, close to 400 years. It says, almost complete worship of the sun. Almost all of the gods during that period had solar-like qualities. And even Jesus had acquired the traits of popular sun gods. The feast of the Sol Invictus, meaning unconquered sun, was a popular tradition celebrated by Romans on December 25th by many in the area during that time period. Says that was until it was replaced by Christians, which we are not, with Christmas. The celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, which is a lie because they don't know when. The person that's called the Savior, his Hebrew name is Yahshua or Yahweh. Yahweh did not give his birth. His birth is not given in the Bible.
No, it's not.
So whenever you call him, if you're celebrating December 25th as his birthday, you're celebrating a lie.
That's right.
All right? And really what you're celebrating is this Roman feast.
The sun went to Solus.
So the fourth one, the Native Americans. The indigenous people of America, including North, Central, and South America, all extensively worship the sun before European colonialism. The sun dance carried out by the Plains Indians of North America is one of the most popular ceremonies revolving around the sun and was usually carried out, after the end of winter. In the pre-Columbian civilizations living in Mexico and Peru, sun worship was one of the most prominent features of their religion. The Aztec sun gods, Huitzilopochtli and Tezcatlipoca, demanded human sacrifice from their worshippers, a theme that is still commonly shown in the media and entertainment when portraying Aztec culture. All right. Okay, so let's go to Isaiah, the 40th chapter. So the first location, the time was created or made was in the Garden of Eden.
Uh-huh.
Isaiah the 40th chapter. And Yahweh tells us exactly where it was located.
Right.
And it's still there, except that it's covered up, or Yahweh's not going to let men see exactly, but he described it and told about all the rivers and everything else.
Yeah.
And how they intersected in the garden, Isaiah 40. And the first location where Yahweh created time, where he created the first 7 days, the Garden of Eden, was located at the equator. It is an established fact that the garden was located at the equator.
Okay.
And at the equator, the evening and the sun going down both occur at 6 p.m. every day of the year.
Praise the mighty God.
Every day of the year.
Hallelujah.
But we can't just jump and say sundown,
Right.
because Yahweh didn't say that. He said the evening
Yes.
and
he
the
did.
morning. Yahweh's going to show us in this series that evening and sundown are totally different.
Yes, they are.
And Yahweh never used that when he said a day begins.
Right, right.
He didn't say it began at sundown.
No, he did not.
And Yahweh's going to show us a lot of scriptures talking about the sun going down.
Okay.
Again, he already showed us that this word sundown and sunset are hybrid words that were made up during the 1610, 1620. All right, so the words didn't even exist.
Hallelujah.
All right, Isaiah 40, and we're going to look at how Yahweh talks about the equator in verse 22. Isaiah 40
Praise
and verse
the mighty
22.
God.
It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in.
All right, it says it is he. It's talking about Yahweh, talking about Yahshua, that sitteth on the circle of Ha'aret. The earth has a circle. If you didn't know that, get any globe, and you're going to see how they have it divided perfectly into hemispheres. They got the circle that goes around it, and they got what, latitude and longitude, and they've got everything just perfectly divided. Why? Because Yahweh is precise.
Yes, he is.
And they have everything like degrees and longitude and degrees, latitude, and it's just is marked off perfect in perfect symmetry. Why?
Hallelujah.
Because that's how Yahweh is. And they diagrammed it from him.
That's
He
it.
says he sits on the circle of the earth, and we that are on the earth are as grasshoppers.
Yes, we are.
He's looking down from above. We look like little, grasshoppers running around here. That stretcheth out Hashemayim as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. So at the Garden of Eden, where Yahweh created time, the evening starts with 12 hours of darkness at 6 p.m. It still does, every single day. And the morning starts at 12 hours of light at 6 a.m.
Okay.
Still does, every
Praise
single day.
the mighty Yah.
Now I have something that I want to read, and this is from Britannica Junior Encyclopedia. Britannica Junior Encyclopedia, Volume 5, D and E. And this is on page 343. And it talks about the equator. Equator. E-Q-U-A-T-O-R. It is the imaginary line that encircles the earth midway between the north and south poles. It's called the geographical equator, from a Latin word meaning to equalize. We just read it in Isaiah 40, the circle of the earth. This is Yahweh. They're talking about what Yahweh made. The equator divides the earth into northern and southern hemisphere. The equator is the zero line, or 0 degrees. So that's why we also, in our series, Garden of Eden Time, we call it Ground Zero.
Okay.
Well, they named that thing in New York Ground Zero, but Yahweh did it when He was creating everything.
Right, right.
He created everything at ground zero. And the Garden of Eden is ground zero. So we're talking about the ground zero time that he created, where everything is perfect. It's still going like clockwork.
Hallelujah.
6 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m.,
Right, right.
6 a.m., 6 p.m., 6 a.m., and he's talking about the evening and the morning.
Right, right.
All right? It says the regions of the earth called equatorial, and there are countries that are called equatorial. In other words, they're near that circle.
Okay.
They're near the equator. And they are all tropical forests. The Garden of Eden, when you think about a garden, you think about some of those sprigs or something. The Garden of Eden was thick.
Right.
It was like the Amazon. And it was so thick that when Yahweh kicked the first man and woman out, all he had to do was pull an angel on one part of it.
That's it.
They couldn't get in any of it
Right.
because it was just so thick. All right?
Okay.
The regions of the earth called equatorial extend beyond the equator to 23.5 degrees north latitude, the Tropic of Cancer, and to 23.5 degrees south latitude, the Tropic of Capricorn. These tropics are the highest latitudes reached by the vertical rays of the sun. See how Yahweh has this thing coordinated vertically? Between the tropics, the noon sun is always high in the sky.
Yep.
What do they call it? High noon.
Right.
It's directly above.
Hallelujah.
And Yahweh gave you an indicator whether or not it's morning or after high noon, because your shadow is what? It's before you in the morning.
Okay.
And it's behind you. See how Yahweh...
Praise the mighty
And there
Yah.
are people, oh, see, they didn't have clocks, so they didn't have this and that. Yahweh already has it down. They didn't need clocks.
Right, right.
Yahweh's got it. The clock is already built into his creation.
Yes, it is.
He said, these tropics are the highest latitude reached by the vertical rays of the sun. Between the tropics, the noon sun is always high in the sky, and except at high altitudes, the climate is always hot. Now here it is. At the equator, all right, this is Britannica Junior Encyclopedia, Volume 5. At the equator, day and night are always equal in length.
Hallelujah.
At the equator, day and night are always equal in length.
Thus says Yahshua when he came in the flesh.
It says, in astronomy, use is made of the celestial equator, which is the extension into space of the imaginary line of the Earth's equator. So you see how this is how they can measure, okay, we want to put the satellite out so many, 1,000 miles, and okay, well then Venus is so many thousand miles from Earth. They're measuring it from what Yahweh put,
That's it.
the circle of the Earth. See how everything starts with Yahweh?
Of course.
And
It's
then
all about Yah.
they want to make you think, oh, they're so smart.
I know, right?
They
They're
know
so
about-
smart,
They're
yeah.
measuring it from
Right.
the
But what
equator.
does Yah written?
It says, and they extended the imaginary line of the earth into space.
Okay.
It says, thus the heavens are also divided into two hemispheres, one lying above the northern hemisphere of the earth, and the other the southern hemisphere of the earth. They're starting with Yahweh's circle. The magnetic equator is the imaginary line where the attraction from the north and south pole, magnetic poles, is equal. On this line, the balanced magnetic needle registers no dip or inclination, but lies perfectly horizontal. It is therefore also called the aclinic line. All right, now I want to continue reading the equinox and solstice, because this is still talking about what Yahweh created.
Right, right.
And this is put in an encyclopedia for children to learn in their classes.
I know,
But
right?
see, Yahweh is showing us how spiritual this is, because we're studying the Creator. We're not worshiping the sun.
Right.
We're looking at what He created, and we're understanding exactly how it works, and we're understanding how everything is based on what Yahweh did and made.
That's it.
All right, the equinox and solstice. On these 2 days, the number of hours of darkness and daylight is equal, or 12 hours in the dark, 12 hours in the light. And we're going to see in the scripture where Yahshua said,
Yes.
It's 24 hours,
Yes.
12 and 12.
That's right.
And he doesn't mean looking at the sun, all right? It says on these 2 days, the number of hours of daylight and darkness is equal, 12 hours, and is the same all over the earth.
Okay.
These 2 days. So Yahweh, he has a sign of himself all over the earth.
That's it.
Even though we got kicked out of the garden,
Yeah.
he said, I can still show you who
Yep.
I am. For this reason, each of these dates is known as an equinox. So they put these fancy words where if you don't really study them,
Right.
you know, all they had to do is say, oh, it means that daylight and dark are equal, like in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
That's really what an equinox is. It's taking you back to ground zero, to the Garden of Eden.
Hallelujah.
Equinox is the word that comes from the Latin equus, or equal, or nox, night.
Uh-huh.
North of the equator, March 21st is called the vernal or spring equinox.
Right.
September 23rd is called the autumnal equinox. And again, all it means is there's places all over the world, twice a year, they exhibit what Yahweh put at ground
Praise
zero.
be to
in
the
the
mighty
Garden
God.
of Eden. That's what it means. On June 22nd, places north of the equator have a greater number of daylight hours and fewer hours of darkness than on any other day of the year. Now this is where we got into sun worship, thinking that the darkness or lightness is what Yahweh was talking about. Are there not 12 hours in the day and 12 hours in the
Okay.
night? He's talking about ground zero. Yeah,
Right,
that's,
right.
that's still there.
That's what he's talking about.
But that didn't mean for us to start looking at the sun to determine when the day started. All right? He says, this date is also called the summer solstice, from the Latin sol, sun, and sistere, to stand still. On or about December 22nd, places north of the equator.
Yeah.
See how they keep saying circle of the earth, circle of the earth, circle of the earth. On or about December 22nd, places north of the equator have the fewest hours of daylight and the most hours of darkness. This day of the year, when the days are shortest and the nights longest, is called the winter solstice.
That's right. That's what
In the
they
north
worship.
and south polar regions, the change in the length of days and nights is the greatest. This is the land of the midnight sun. And Yahweh's going to have us look at that. Because for people that are looking at the sun like we used to know when a day ended or
Okay.
began, they have 6 months of darkness and 6 months of night. So what, are they not supposed to keep the Shabbat? The sun never goes down? Or are they supposed to keep a Shabbat for 6 months while it's dark? Because really, if you got 6 months worth of darkness and 6 months worth of light, that's like having one day. So if I'm standing and waiting for the sun to go down and it never goes down, I can never keep the Shabbat.
Right. Y'all right, Rob.
And Yahweh knew this.
Right.
He understands what he did
Right.
at ground zero. Now he
Right.
wants us to come back and understand
Hallelujah.
and get out from up under all this sun
So
worship.
come up out of her.
Says, so at each pole there are 6 months of light and 6 months of darkness. So you're in trouble if you're looking at the sun trying to determine when the day starts. That's right. That's right. Okay, let's go to Genesis, the 2nd chapter. Genesis, the 2nd chapter.
Hallelujah. For revelation knowledge.
Yes,
Praise
yes,
Yahweh.
yes. We're not knocking anybody because we've
No.
had it for years.
Right. We all still learning forever.
We've seen that Yahweh is showing us something different.
That's it.
And then some people will say, well, don't live at the North and South Pole.
Huh.
That's not the answer. The answer is for us to let Yahweh tell us
Tune in to what thus said.
what
Yah.
he instituted at creation when
Right,
he
right.
made the first 7 days. All right. Okay, Genesis 2, verse 8, please.
Hallelujah.
And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed.
All right, and we just saw Eden was at the circle of the earth. Again, it's the tropic zone. The man and the woman were in the garden. They had no clothes on.
Right,
They
right.
didn't need clothes, but it was warm enough.
Right.
It didn't get cold there. They didn't need them. They were in the tropics, just like you go to the Amazon and you see them people, they don't have clothes over
Right,
there because
right.
it's hot as I don't know what. All right? It says Yahweh planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. So the evening and the sun going down still set at approximately 6 p.m. and rise at approximately 6 a.m. every day. It's still going on.
Hallelujah.
We're just not in the garden. The 24-hour preciseness every day, starting at 6 p.m. and ending at 6 p.m., is recorded throughout the Bible. Let's go to John, New Testament, John the 11th chapter. Yahshua confirmed that a day consists of 12 hours of dark, which Yahweh called evening. He didn't call it night, he called it evening.
That's it.
And 12 hours of light, which he called morning. John, the 11th chapter. And we just read in the Encyclopedia Britannica, the scientists have found that out too. But Yahweh told his people first.
Yes, he did.
John 11 and one verse, verse 9.
Hallelujah.
Here's Yahshua telling us about it in the New Testament.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yahshua answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world.
Now, people, again, their mind draws a blank. Well, see, he said there's 12 hours in a day. Because the dictionaries have redefined words so much, when you use a word like day, some people think you're referring to the whole day.
Right. The daylight.
But look at what Yahweh is talking about, not what people are talking about.
Right. What does
People tell you a day is 8 hours.
Yeah.
That's the day that they will spend working at a secular job. Or they'll tell you that a day is as long as it's light outside.
That's right.
But you got to look and see what Yahweh is talking about. And Yahshua is referring to ground zero.
Yes, he is.
Where darkness and light perfectly coincide, and you have perfect 24-hour days every day. Yahshua answered, and are there not 12 hours in Yowm? If any Adam walk in Yowm, he stumbles not, because he seeth the light of this world. So now, although in the Garden of Eden, evening and sundown coincided, Yahweh did not say, he did not say that we should look at the sundown or the sun having gone down to determine when days begin and end.
That's
He never
right.
said that.
That's right.
When sundown is used to determine days, 24-hour days rarely occur.
I know, right? I know.
We just read in Encyclopedia Britannica, out of the Garden of Eden,
Right.
there's what, 2 days in a year where you have perfect 24-hour days. We were discussing this years ago with a brother and telling him, hey, you don't have 24-hour days when you're observing sundown to sundown.
Right,
So,
right.
hey, so what? That's a big problem when Yahshua just told
I know,
you
right?
there's 24 hours in the day. All right? On earth, certain locations do not have sundown for months. We just read that over in Encyclopedia Britannica. And then I have something else that I'm going to read. It says, the polar night occurs in the northernmost and southernmost regions of the earth, when the night lasts for more than 24 hours. Again, a night lasts for more than 24 hours.
Okay.
This occurs only inside the polar circles. The opposite phenomenon, the polar day or midnight sun, occurs when the sun stays above the horizon for more than 24 hours. Remember, it's 6 months and 6 months. What you going to do about keeping the Shabbat? Night is understood as the center of the sun being below a free horizon. In the most northern city of Sweden, the polar night lasts for around 28 24-hour periods. So you got 28 days. So I guess maybe these people don't keep the Shabbat, right? No. If they know Yahweh and they've been studying, Yahweh will give them revelation about how to continue to keep the Shabbat.
Right.
It says the polar night lasts for around 28 24-hour periods, while the midnight sun lasts around 50 24-hour periods. So those are the days where they're just days on end. No night. Because the earth rotates on a tilted axis as it revolves around the sun, sunlight is experienced in extremes at the poles. In fact, the South Pole experiences only one sunrise, and here's what Britannica said, at the September equinox. In other words, it has a perfect 24-hour day.
Okay.
Remember that fancy term just means like the Garden of Eden has got a perfect 24-hour day, where light and dark are the same.
Okay.
12 and 12, like Yahshua said they're supposed to be. It said, and one sunset at the March equinox every year. From the South Pole, the sun is always above the horizon in the summer and below the horizon in the winter. This means the region experiences up to 24 hours of sunlight in the summer and 24 hours of darkness in the winter. All right? So at www.sunrisesunset.com/calendar, you can find days that are recorded from sundown to sundown. And I actually found another website, and I have a chart printed here. And they rarely consist of 24 hours. See, the encyclopedia just told us everywhere else in the earth, you only get 2 days a year.
Okay.
Of 24 hours. All right? And if you look at this, all right, so I took sun in Jerusalem for November, the month of November. And now Yahweh told us that 6 p.m. is the beginning of a day.
Right, right.
All right? They have sunset at 4:49 p.m. on November 1st. On November 8th, they have it at 4:44 p.m. All right, so you got what, 5 difference now.
Right, right.
So now what you got is a floating day. You
Right.
know, some people have this floating Shabbat.
Yeah, yeah.
Which Shabbat can, you notice Yahweh says some people.
Yeah.
Yahweh doesn't have a floating Shabbat. But
No,
some
he
people
doesn't.
have these floating things because they want Yahweh to just be sporadic, and they want to make you believe that you can't predict and you can't understand what Yahweh's doing, which is a
Nothing
lie.
but house
You
time.
can. He didn't dictate this Bible
Right.
from Genesis to Revelation because he didn't want you to understand. He wants you to understand.
Yes, he does.
All right. On November 13th, sunset is 4:40 p.m. November 22nd, sunset is 4:36 p.m. November 30th, sunset is 4:35 p.m. So you got all these different times.
Right.
And if you want to look at this chart, I'll let you look. They have sunrise in here too, which is
Okay.
at all different times.
Okay.
None of them said anything about 6 o'clock, right?
Right, right. Y'all is precise.
Yes, he is. All right. Yahweh is precise. Let's go to Exodus 12th chapter.
Praise the
He
mighty God.
is precise. Watching the sun go down, determining days causes floating days.
Yeah, yeah.
Yahweh is precise. Years ago they made a song, float, float on.
Yeah.
You're gonna float on out of here.
Yeah.
Yahweh's not about
Float up out
floating.
of the kingdom.
Yahweh is concrete, he's solid.
Y'all see it? That's that right?
Exodus 12, we want to read verse 40. Exodus 12.
Hallelujah.
We're looking at Yahweh's preciseness now.
That's right.
Exodus 12 and verse 40, please.
Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Mizraim was 430 years.
Now, he said exactly what it was, right?
Yeah, yeah.
430 years. And that was the sojourning of our band of Israel who dwelt in Mizraim.
Okay.
They had 430 years to look at them people worshiping the sun. And you can tell they were influenced because as soon as they came out and Moshe went up to get the commandments,
Yeah.
then they were down there building them some calves
All right.
so they could worship them because the Egyptians worship calves too.
Right, right, right.
All right, verse 41.
And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day, it came to pass that all the host of Yahweh went out from the land of Mizraim.
So Yahweh said it again in case people didn't get it the first
Right,
time.
right, right.
430.
Yeah.
And you have people throwing these numbers around and confusing them. We came out of Egyptian captivity, our
Right.
forefathers, 430 years after we went in. Now let's go to Genesis, the 15th chapter. And you can't say, oh, so this is the same, talking about the same period. No, it's not. Yahweh doesn't say 400 when he means 430. He says exactly what he means. He is precise.
Right.
That's why these floating Shabbats and floating days and whatever people want to float, make it be, what's the word, a relative. No, Yahweh doesn't base things on relativity.
No, he don't.
Genesis 15, let's read one verse, verse 13.
Hallelujah.
Genesis 15 and verse 13 reads, please.
And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
Now, this is not the same time.
No, it's not.
He's talking to Abraham, and he's talking about the transatlantic slave trade over here to the Americas and to the Caribbean. He said, Yemar to Abram, Yada of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall evict them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. There's a big difference between 430 and 400.
Yeah.
The difference is what? 30 years.
Yeah.
Yahweh doesn't say 430 and mean 400. He is precise.
Yes, he is.
Let's go to Revelation, the 11th chapter. So the Great Tribulation period will last 3.5 years. Revelation 11. And you have some people floating the Great Tribulation period. They say, okay, it's going to last 7 years. Some say, okay, it's going to last 9 years. Some say it's going to last 11 years. Yahweh said 3.5 years. And he said it in several places.
Yes, he did.
So you would know, and it's the same thing, even though he says it in different terms. It still adds up to the same amount of time. Revelation 11, verse 2, please.
Hallelujah.
But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the Kadesh city shall they tread underfoot 42 months.
Now, with this Roman calendar, you might get confused. 42 months. Okay, some days are 30, some months are 30 days, and some are, are 29, and some are 31. Forget about the Roman calendar. Yahweh's talking about his calendar. And all of his months are exactly 30 days. And if you want clarification, you go over to where Noah went into the ark. And then you can see how Yahweh gives you precise dates of the month, when he went in, and different things happened. And he lets you know that he came out a certain amount of time, and he lets you know exactly how long he was in there. And then you understand that all of Yahweh's months are 30 precise days. They're lunar months. They're lunar. They're not based on the sun. See, the world is the opposite. They got things backwards, based all on the sun. All right? So he said, but the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Goim. And the Kadesh city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. That's talking about 3.5 years. All you have to do is just divide 12 into that, and you get 3.5 years. Or divide 30 into it. Again, all of Yahweh's months are 30 days. And there's 12 of them. There's not 13. There's 12. All right, verse 3.
And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
Now he said it a little different way, just like he did over in Exodus with the children of Israel. They were coming out of Mizraim 430 years. Now he says this in days. First he said it in months. Now he's saying it in days. 1,260 days. Well, you just divide the 30 into that again, and you'll still get 3.5 years. It's the same amount of time. Yahweh is precise. Let's go to Genesis, the 1st chapter. He doesn't float. He's precise.
No, he does not.
Genesis, the 1st chapter. So Yahweh said the sun's purpose is about 4 or 5 things. None of which for you to look at to determine when a day begins or ends. Genesis 1, let's start at verse 14, please.
Hallelujah.
And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of Shemayim to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
All right, 15.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of Shemayim to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
And 16.
And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
All right, let's read 17.
And Elohim set them in the firmament of Shemayim to give light upon the earth.
All right, so the first thing now he said in verse 14 says, let there be lights in the firmament of Shemayim to divide the day from the night. So this English word divide is the Hebrew word badal. That's B-A-D-A-L. It's found at Strong's number 914. It is a primitive root word meaning to divide, to separate, to distinguish, to put a difference between, to make a separation, to sever out. So Yahweh starts his days with the evening, not the day.
Right, right.
Let's look at how this word divide, when Yahweh said, okay, this is what the sun and the stars and the moon are for, to divide. Let's go to Exodus 26 and see how this word divide is used. It said divide the day from the night. But see, Yahweh starts his days with night first, with the evening. I won't say night because that's improper. He starts with the evening first, with the dark part first.
Right.
Exodus 26, let's read verse 33.
Hallelujah.
We're looking at how this word, in what sense this word divide means.
Okay.
All right, 26:33.
And thou shalt hang up the veil under the thatches, that thou mayest bring in thither within the veil the ark of the testimony, and the veil shall divide unto you between the holy place and the most holy.
All right, so that divide means, okay, there's one room on one side of the veil, and then there's another room on the other side of the veil, just separating them.
Yeah.
All right, Leviticus, the first chapter. Let's look at this word divide again. Leviticus, the first chapter. We're going to read one verse, verse 17.
Hallelujah.
And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. The priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahweh.
All right, now he's talking about a sacrifice here. He's talking about just cutting something in half.
Right.
Divide. All right. Now, the sun is also to be for signs. All right, let's go to Genesis, the 4th chapter. For signs. The English word signs is the Hebrew word off. That's O-W-T-H, found at Strong's number 226. It means in the sense of a signal, a flag, a beacon, a monument, a mark, a sign, a token. Genesis 4. So the sun is to be for signs.
Okay.
Genesis 4 and 15.
Hallelujah.
And Yahweh said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him.
All right, so whatever mark it was, see this sign, the sun is a sign.
Right.
He didn't say it's a sign for the you that a day has ended or begun.
Right.
But it's a sign, just like Yahweh put something on Cain.
Right.
We don't know what he put on Cain, but we know whatever he put on him, when people saw him, they could look at him and see, oh, that's a sign, that's a token. We don't know what it was. All right, let's go Genesis, the 9th chapter. We're just looking at now When he said the sun's a sign, in what way did he mean it was a sign?
Okay.
Genesis 9, verse 13.
Hallelujah.
Genesis 9. It's something that you could see.
Right.
Verse 13.
I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth.
All right, and so when it rains, there
Right.
are times that we see that rainbow
Right.
that Yahweh put in the
Right.
cloud as a sign.
Right.
Okay, so we're just seeing in what senses where sign is used for the sun being a sign.
Uh-huh.
All right, Genesis 17. And we're going to read verse 11.
Hallelujah.
Genesis 17 and verse 11.
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
And so the men of Israel
Yep.
had that token between them and Yahweh, that circumcising themselves. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token or sign
That's it.
of Habarith, or the covenant
Yep.
betwixt me and you.
Yep.
So if you're not circumcised somehow physically,
Yep.
and now we women have to be circumcised, the men have to have it double, physically and spiritually, but the women have to be spiritually.
Right.
So this is a covenant between the men and Yahweh. And if they're not circumcised, then they're not part of that covenant. They're not understanding.
Y'all right.
Right.
Salam's the note.
So
Like this.
let's go to Genesis, the 21st chapter. So the sun is for seasons, Yahweh said.
Yeah.
The English word seasons is the Hebrew word moed. That's M-O-W-E-D, or moed. That's M-O-E-D, or moadah. That's M-O-W-A-D-A-H. Found at Strong's number 4150. It means an appointment, a fixed time or season, a festival, could be a year,
Right.
an assembly, the congregation, the place of the meeting. It's a signal. It's an appointed sign or an appointed time. It's a place of solemn assembly. It's a set or solemn feast, and a set time appointed. All right, so Yahweh said the sun is for seasons.
Yep.
Okay, Genesis 21 and verse 2, please.
Hallelujah.
For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age at the set time of which Elohim had spoken to him.
All right, so this set time.
Right.
Yahweh, Yahshua told Abraham at this time,
Yep.
she's going to conceive, she's going to have the child, and at that time, she did.
Right.
Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a bond in his old age at the set time of which Elohim had a mar to him.
Uh-huh.
Let's go to Exodus 13th chapter. So we're seeing how Yahweh said the sun is a sign. We want to see, okay, how does Yahweh mean that it's a sign or it's a season? All right, Exodus 13. So we can get an understanding. And he's not saying nothing about watch the sun go down.
No, we did not.
Determine that a day has begun or ended.
No, he did
Exodus
not.
13, verse 10.
Hallelujah.
Exodus 13 and verse 10 reads,
Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year.
all right, so here it is in his season. Thou shalt shema this ordinance in his season from year to year. It's talking about the sun was for seasons, for appointed times. All right, and there are appointed times when we observe Yahweh's feast days and when we do different things that Yahweh tells us to do. Let's go to 2 Chronicles, the 8th chapter. Looking at seasons and for signs. 2 Chronicles, the 8th chapter.
Praise the mighty Yah.
Hallelujah. And verse 13. 2
Hallelujah.
Chronicles, the 8th chapter. Verse 13.
Even after a certain rate every day, offering according to the commandments of Moshe on the Shabbats and on the new moons and on the solemn feasts 3 times in a year, even in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles.
All right, so here these are set appointed times and seasons. That's the sun, what the sun is for. It says the sun was also to be for days. Let's go to Genesis, the 2nd chapter. The English word days is the Hebrew word Yowm. That's Y-O-W-M, found at Strong's number 3117, meaning to be hot. A day as the warm hours. It means age. It means always. It means continually, daily, birth, each day, today, nowadays, days agone, elder, end, space, then, process of time, trouble, weather. It just means a whole lot of things. All right? Genesis 2, and let's read verse 2. The sun's to be for days. So what is Yahweh talking about? It's to be for days, 2 and 2.
And on the 7th day, Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made.
All right, so the day, Yahweh is saying the sun was for days. All right, let's read Genesis 3 and 5. Let's see how this word days is used. Relative to the sun. Genesis 3 and 5.
For Elohim doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as Elohims, knowing good and evil.
All right, so there it is. The day for Elohim doth yada, that in Hayam you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as Els, knowing Tob and Ra. So at that time, during that day, and again, Yahweh wasn't using like a literal day. He's talking about a period of time.
Right.
When they disobeyed. The sun was also to be for years. We're going to go to Genesis, the 5th chapter. The sun was to be for years. The English word years is the Hebrew word shaneh. That's S-H-A-N-E-H. Found at Strong's number 8141. Plural is shana. That's S-H-A-N-A-H. Means a year as a revolution of time. It also means your whole age, your long or old or yearly.